Hey. Oh, hey everyone. Welcome to our entrepreneurs panel. Rose and Barbie, you two are awesome. You've been to like all of our presentations. We appreciate you very much.
Wendy Crockett.
Wendy Crockett's in the house. Woo! So is Sarah Schilke. Thanks, Sarah. Warren. Cam. Oh, Cam, you've been to so many. Thank you so much. Beth. Christine, yeah, you've been to a lot too. Thank you so much. I think you might have been to all of them. Paige, lots of familiar faces come in the room right now. David, welcome back. Warren, Roberta, thank you so much. I've seen you a lot in here too. Thanks. Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to our Rev Talks Entrepreneurs panel. And we are delighted to be here with Adam Timmerberg. And Brittany and I are also entrepreneurs, so we thought that maybe we'd share a little bit of our stories. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties with Moira, so we're actually going to bring her back for an hour-long Rev Talk when she can talk about what it's like to put together events. Her company, Power Trip Industries, provides, well, they do a lot of experiential events for companies, and BMW was one of the big clients that she worked for, and so we'll have her back and talk to her in the future. Right now, welcome everyone, the latecomers, people who just joined, and I would like to introduce Adam Timmerberg. And why don't you tell us about who you are, where you're from, what your product is, and we're going to pepper you with questions about being an entrepreneur.
Perfect. Welcome everybody. My name's Adam, and I own the company Roam. So let me get here. Shoebox, Roam. We own Roam.com. But what Roam is we make motorcycle gear, and right now we just have shoes that are really, really advanced motorcycle products. So we saw a need to create a product that bridged a gap that wasn't really being noticed by the large motorcycle apparel manufacturers. So we set out to design the ultimate motorcycle shoe. Our shoe is fashionable, safe, and very high tech. So let me just grab one of these shoes to show you.
All the noise.
Let me hide the tags. This is a brand new shoe. It looks like a regular high top shoe. All of the impact protection, like the abrasion resistance, is strategically placed in very specific locations. And then there are also computers. So these shoes wirelessly connect to your motorcycle, and they mimic the brake lights, the turn signals, the hazards, all of the lighting that your motorcycle has. The shoes mimic, actually, except for daytime running lights, because battery technology isn't there yet to sustain daytime running lights. But that'll be a feature in the future. But the impact protection in the toe is hidden under the surface, the sides, the ankles, the insides, the whole upper part of the shoe under the surface has impact protection. And we did it in a way, I don't know if you're familiar with D3O, but it's a material it's soft and flexible when you push on it slowly. So when you're walking around, it's comfortable, but the material actually absorbs the energy. So if you have an accident, the energy from that accident makes the material hard. And then it goes back to being soft right away. So the whole shoe is lined with that. And in terms of the electronics, anyone who commutes on a motorcycle will agree that no one's paying attention these days. Everybody's on their cell phones. People in cars are just whatever is going on. And so our technology is there to make riders more visible during their commute. I can give you a demo for that if you'd like. So obviously I don't have a motorcycle with me. My engineers built me this motorcycle electronics box. Very smart team. Basically, you turn the shoe on by squeezing the on-off switch button, and it turns on and tells you the battery level. So the number of blinks is battery. So that was 2 blinks, which means medium. Then you turn on the other shoe, it wakes up. 1, 2, 3. So this one is full. So 3 blinks is full, 2 blinks is medium, 1 blink is low. Red blinks means there's not enough power to ride for the electronics. But essentially, you have the shoes, when you hit your brakes on the motorcycle, the backs of the shoes become wireless brake lights. You literally add a device to your motorcycle, and when you hit your existing brake lights, your shoes become brake lights. Your turn signals, the shoes flash at the same rate that your turn signals flash. And the lighting, let me show you on one shoe, goes around the toe for frontal visibility and around the heel. We didn't put lighting in the inside because it was reflecting off the motorcycle. It was looking kind of different, and also it uses unnecessary energy. So the shoes basically mimic your existing motorcycle's lighting system. Now, when you get off your bike, you turn off your bike and you walk away, the shoes recognize that you've turned off your motorcycle, and 60 seconds later, they automatically shut down to conserve power. We did that so you don't have to worry about getting to your destination and then turning your shoes off. You basically just turn off your bike, walk away, your shoes shut down. A question we get sometimes regularly is if they have party mode. If you walk around, do they blink? And they do not, unfortunately. But the goal is to just make you more visible on your commute. And then also, we've designed the impact protection and abrasion resistance in a way that it's comfortable and functional. It's over the ankle. And when you get to your destination, you get off your bike and you walk around, you're in a pair of shoes that's comfortable. There's so many motorcycle shoes and boots out there that are safe, but when you get to where you're going, do you really want to walk around in those for an hour or two? And so we're trying to bridge that gap to people who commute to work and school, or just want to ride around and still have safety on their apparel or feet at this moment. And yeah, there's just so much more. Are there any questions or?
I have so many. It's such crazy cool technology. That's really great. If anyone from the audience has a question for any of us on the Entrepreneur panel, feel free to put it in the Q&A. My question is, how difficult is it to install that device on your bike?
Very good question. Let me grab that device for you. All right, so it's a very small device. It comes with 5 wires. You need to tap into your ground, which is for black, your positive tail light wire, your positive brake light wire, your positive left turn signal, your positive right turn signal. So if you're good at tapping into wires, this is fairly simple. If it's not your cup of tea, any shop should be able to do it, no problem. We have customers all over the world, and installing that box has not really been an issue.
What do you figure? It's like an hour's labor or something at the shop?
That's what they charge. I mean, I've gotten them down to like 10, 15 minutes. So
Okay.
cool. I think a
Cool.
lot of shops have an hour minimum.
And where can folks find your product? Is it only online, or can they get it through dealers?
At this moment, we're selling directly to customer through roam.com, and I can pull up that website if you'd like to see. Here, let's go like this. I'm going to share my, oh, there's one sharing option. Participants. Okay, bam. Here we go. So, can you guys see my screen?
Oh, yeah.
This is roam.com up here. And basically, we've been covered on, at CES, our local San Diego Union Tribune. This guy reviews shoes. This is a community in LA that gives back to a lot of underprivileged children. Some magazines, digital trends. But let's go like this. This is a great example. When you hit your brakes, it also figures out the speed of your turn signal. So if you notice, the motorcycle on the right has a very fast turn signal, and the motorcycle on the left has a slow turn signal. So it matches the rate of your turn signal so that it doesn't look unnatural. Let's see. Again, the lights, patented technology, the impact protection locations. So it's all around the ankles, the sides, the inside, the toe. We didn't put it in the heel because we found that when you were walking, your heel would rub on that area, and we didn't want to, we wanted it to be comfortable. A lot of sizes are sold out, specifically women's. I believe there's only 1 or 2 pairs of women's 8s left. Our sizing it's unisex. So a men's 8 is a women's 10 plus 2 for us. So we have women's 10s, women's 11s, 12s, and 1 or 2 pairs of 8s left. But that's our website.
So
Awesome.
if you're a forgetful customer like I am, and how do you know if you turned on your motorcycle boots is there something on the LED that that lights up?
So
Or-
our on-off switches are on the inside ankles, and before you ride, you can click your heels, kind of like
Okay.
Dorothy from home. And they turn on for the battery life. If at any moment you're riding and you realize you haven't turned them on or you're at a stoplight, you can reach down and kind of just hit that button.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there is no feedback whether or not it's on at this moment.
Okay.
We were thinking about, there was my engineering team and I sat down and we thought, well, what can we do? Like vibration, things like that. But motorcycles vibrate a lot. There's not really a lot of feedback. And we also wanted to design it in a way that didn't take away from the riding experience. I know there's a lot of new technology coming out where, you know, your focus is taken away from riding a motorcycle. And if that's what you want, great. But we really wanted to create a product that made riders more visible, it's comfortable, safe, stylish, but really didn't take away from the riding experience. Because personally, I get on a motorcycle, I don't want to be answering phone calls. I'm clearing my head. And so we've designed it in a way that really is passive lighting in a way.
My entrepreneur mind is going at full speed here, Adam. I think that you should make a rubberized keychain to add to your motorcycle key that just says "turn on your shoes."
There you go. It's off. It's really possible.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Or just roam, and it, you know, you go to put your key in your bike, and it reminds you. Oh yeah. So.
Yeah.
We have a lot of functionality coming out in the future. We just wanted to make sure, you know, the core base product was done right. So they only come in black at this moment, but we will be having different colors, different styles for different riding communities. I own a utility patent on all clothing that wirelessly talks to motorcycles for lighting. So we're the only ones that could do shoes, pants, gloves, jackets, you know, everything. And so we will be coming out with a whole line of gear.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
Just think Tron in a way.
I'm all for it. You know me. I'm like, yes, more visibility.
That's it. And then doing it in a way that's fashionable, because I think right now a lot of motorcycle gear has been complacent. It hasn't changed much in the last 20 years or so. There's new technologies like this impact protection. There's all this new stuff going on, and it takes someone to really just step out of the box and sit down and open slate, just design what needs to be done. So, you know, redefining motorcycle jackets in a way that maybe you want to wear it out to dinner. Or something that you don't have to stash when you get to your location. Just using the newest technology to really bridge that gap between safety and fashion. That's the goal of Roam, is really just make motorcycle safety gear more enjoyable.
Great
way, I
again.
guess. Or you can blend in.
Yeah.
Make gear
That's
great
really
again.
So
Have I frozen?
No, you're good.
do you have a story? But can you share your story about how you?
I'm
came
not sure
to-
if everyone else froze.
Oh yeah, Adam's frozen. Oh,
Ah, it's that time of
technology.
day. It's that time of day. Everybody's getting online.
Was
You
I
know,
frozen?
sucking
Yeah,
up
it was
the.
you.
Oh man, I'm sitting right next to the Wi-Fi router and I have amazing. Anyway.
So cool, you're back.
You're
Yeah,
back.
I apologize for that. You know, technology has issues
Yep.
in general.
So would you share your story of how you came to be a motorcycle entrepreneur?
Sure. So first of all, I think we can all agree motorcycles are amazing. And I was fortunate enough to have cousins with mini bikes growing up. So I've been on motorcycles most of my life. And for me, it's just like, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, but it speaks to me, right? It speaks to all of us, I believe. And I got accepted to UC San Diego. I was studying electrical engineering. Actually, I got a degree in electrical engineering, math, econ, and a minor in business. And while I was at UCSD, they just have terrible student parking. They pride themselves on being so commuter friendly, but they keep just getting rid of parking spots, and they sell all these parking spots. And so I was trying to commute the first year in my car, and it was normally taking 45 minutes or more to find a parking spot. Sometimes class would start and end before I even found a parking spot. So I started commuting to campus on a motorcycle, and they have tons of motorcycle parking. And we're frozen.
Okay.
It's okay. Just
So we're gonna, yeah. So we'll give Adam's Wi-Fi a break for a minute, and I'm going to take over and ask Elisa. How about you telling us about your main product or business, if you will, women's motorcycle tours?
Yeah. I love bringing people together, and I 100 years ago was a motorcycle tour guide for the largest company in the world, and sort of cut my teeth there, and left, went off and did the corporate thing for a while. And in 2006, I quit the corporate world, and actually, it's rather ironic. I quit the corporate world. So I had this, I'm trying to give you too much information. I quit the corporate world, and I started riding my motorcycle more and more, realized that I could reinvent myself as a motorcycle journalist, and that put money in my gas tank, and I started riding more and going to rallies, and went to a BMW rally and met up with a couple of women. And this was probably 20 years ago. I'm dating myself, I know, but I had a really amazing time riding with these two women. We had and there's so few women riding back then. It was like really a big deal. We were like, oh, another woman rider, oh my goodness. And so the three of us decided that we would all go off for a day. We were from totally different parts of the country, but we decided to ride the same direction for a day. And it was so much fun being with other ladies. And so we rented a cabin that night, and we sat around in our jammies, and it was just, the whole experience was so great. It reminded me of growing up and having really close girlfriends who shared, share secrets with, and dreams and aspirations. And that's when I decided that I wanted to give that gift to other lady riders, because there were not so many of us back then. And so 2011, I started Women's Motorcycle Tours. And we do motorcycle tours in the US, and each year we do a big international trip. And I've started into events. In 2016, I organized the Sisters Centennial Motorcycle Ride. We brought just about 100 ladies across the United States, celebrating Adeline and Augusta Van Buren, the first two women to each ride their own motorcycle across the United States. We rode from New York to San Francisco, following in their footsteps. And that was such a great experience that I started doing it again. I got this idea that 2020 is the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. I love centennials, and I love I just love evangelizing motorcycling, especially outside the industry. So I love wrapping motorcycling around these historical events, because that gives us press and exposure outside the motorcycle industry, and it also gives us a really great reason to come together as women motorcyclists. And Current Events has postponed the event until next year, so I've got a whole nother year to make it perfect and make it even better in 2021. And yeah, brings us full circle. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, so we have a Q&A actually for you about your story, and it says, from an anonymous attendee, of course, Elisa, would you mind saying the names of the girls that you met at the BMW rally? You can say no.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No thanks.
Sorry, anonymous attendee.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So what were like the beginning thoughts going through your head when you decided, I'm going to make my own brand, I'm going to make my own business? And where did you start? Where did that come from, really?
So it really came from wanting to be of service, and just sharing that joy, that absolute joy that I had had experienced. And I grew up in the hospitality industry. My parents owned a bed and breakfast. They bought it when I was 13, and I lived there and worked my butt off there until I went off to college. And so I'm used to having a lot of people around. I really like people and enjoy hearing their stories, enjoy being of service. So that was a lot of the reason behind it. It also, I write magazine articles for motorcycle magazines, and that as a freelancer, that's just not a full-time gig. So it was also kind of a fill-in, to be perfectly honest. And between the two, I cobbled together a living.
Cool enough, right? And look at you now.
Look at me now. Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's my turn then. Yeah. I'll
Sure.
talk about Rock the Gear a little bit, I guess.
Please.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and give you guys a little bit of a quick presentation. Just for anyone who hasn't heard my story or been to my websites. So basically my story starts with me thinking that I was an invincible 20-year-old girl getting on the back of a motorcycle with somebody that I barely knew. It was a boy that I had met at a party. And basically that passenger ride that I went on with him changed my life forever. I had to learn my lesson the hard way. I was pretty much skinned alive. I had 3rd-degree road rash on 50% of my body. And my entire life was changed and forever going in a different direction. And what I like to talk about most when it comes to this stage was that I had a lot of different directions that I could still go in. It wasn't that I had to be a victim for the rest of my life, but I could choose instead to do something good with what had happened to me, because I barely survived, but I survived. And I knew that I had a story to tell. I knew that motorcycles weren't what hurt me. It was the decisions that we made before we got on the bike and how we chose to ride that day. And obviously as a passenger, I wasn't in control, but I definitely had a part in what happened. I chose to ride with someone I didn't know. I chose to ride with only a borrowed full face helmet without any other gear. Regardless of what my level of education was at the time, it takes 2 to tango. I got on the back of the bike and nearly lost my life. But I knew that that wasn't the end, and I wanted to do something about it. So knowing that this sort of thing could happen to me again, if I chose to ride motorcycles, that was really the starting point for me launching my career, if you want to call it, as a motorcyclist and a safety advocate. Because now that I knew better, I knew that I could teach others the same lesson that I had learned, hopefully without them having to go through the same experience. So even though it was really hard at the beginning, I felt like I had kind of lost everything. I lost, just my whole career path, my hair, all of my youthful skin, my body was very different. Everything had changed. There was something in me that said that I wasn't going to give up, and I was going to do something about what had happened. Because just like Elisa, I came from a family that takes care of each other and takes care of friends and family. And when you're a more fortunate person, you take care of the less fortunate, or even just the people that you surround yourself with. And I knew that motorcyclists had been kind of my love and my family before this, even though I wasn't a rider myself, and I wanted to take care of them. And I also felt a responsibility for the young women around me, that they needed to know what could really happen if they decided to ride as a passenger, especially with someone that they didn't know, and that there wasn't really an education factor there. So now, as a rider, as a safety instructor, for the last 14 years, a safety advocate, someone who's gone all over the world telling my story and hopefully having people change their perspectives based on what I had to experience. The first step for me and what I wanted to teach people was that I never lose focus of the fact that something like this could happen to me. And it's the lesson that I hope all the riders will glean from my experience, is that even though you don't want it to happen to you and you don't think it will happen to you, you have to make your decisions based off of the idea that it could happen to you. Or it could happen to the people that you love and that you ride with. So we have a responsibility to kind of spread that message to each other as motorcyclists. And of course, now I wear all the gear every time I ride. A lot of us call it ATGAT, but that has to do with the fact that I'm thankful every single day for every day that I have. And that's a universal lesson. It doesn't apply only to motorcyclists, but it's me choosing to say, I'm gonna do everything that I can in order to prevent something bad happening to me, whether it's catastrophic like it was before, or even like the small inconveniences of not being able to go to work for a week because you have a really skinned up knee, or you can't sit down because you have road rash on your bottom, or whatever it is. I'm going to do everything that I can to prevent all of those things from happening. And that has to do with being thankful for being alive, but also that I have a family that stood by me during all of this, and that I would never want to put them through that again. And of course, becoming a better rider through advanced training. I took safety classes to learn how to ride. I learned how to ride on the racetrack. I became a safety instructor in several levels of curriculum. I then became a motorcycle racer myself. And so the idea here is that over 14 years is that you're never finished progressing your skill set. And that's another one of the lessons that I try and impart on the people who become aware of my brands. And so the lesson really that kind of goes across all of the endeavors that I've ever partaken in is that you have to be willing to learn. And that's kind of where Rev Talks was born. The idea is there's so much information out there right now for us as motorcyclists, and not all of it is vetted professional information. I see so much advice from people on Facebook forums and groups, and just a lot of information that isn't necessarily true out there. And normally that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but riding is life and death. And it's really important for me that my community deserves to know how to become better. They deserve to know how to do things and learn them from professionals so that they can get them right, and they never have to experience when things go really, really, really wrong, as much as we can help it and control it on our own. So never being afraid to ask for help is a big thing for me through Rock the Gear, BrittanyMorrow.com, and now Rev Talks. So you can learn a little bit more about my story and the two brands that I mentioned at the beginning. BrittanyMorrow.com is kind of me really saying that you can overcome anything and to never give up, because life is awesome. And then of course, Rock the Gear is all about choosing to wear all the gear every time you ride, and giving professional information about how to find gear that's right for you, how to make sure that it fits correctly, and also the sources in which you can go to look for your own gear. So that is really my story in a nutshell for all of the projects that I've ever been involved in. So yeah, that's it. That's where I got started, and that's why I do what I do. And I think one of the themes that we're kind of talking about here is you know, why we started our brands in the first place. And it looks like each of us had an experience where we saw a gap in the market of the community, something that we wanted and that wasn't available, and we want to make it available. So if it's not out there, then do it yourself.
Yeah, and that's a larger part of why we put the panel together, is show people that you know, ordinary people can do extraordinary things if you put your mind to it. So Adam, if you'll unmute yourself and continue where the interwebs dropped you, that would be great.
Sure. So Brittany, your story is always inspirational. And I think a lot of what you were talking about is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Not all states have a helmet law, and in some states, the helmet law is all you have. So you can ride in a helmet and t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops if you want. Not the smartest move. So kind of just back to my story, I was riding to campus on a motorcycle, and I had to choose every day, like, do I want to ride safely to campus in motorcycle boots, or do I want to be comfortable throughout the day as a student? And it was a very difficult decision to make every morning. And I ended up renting a locker on campus and stashing some shoes, and I would wear motorcycle boots to campus, go straight to the locker, switch out to shoes, stash my gear. And I did that for the whole time at UCSD. It was really inconvenient. And a lot of us motorcycle riders talk to each other all the time. And I kept asking, where's the safe, comfortable, fashionable motorcycle gear? And no one had an answer. So when I graduated, I already knew that there's a huge community of people who commute to work or school or just out for fun on their motorcycle. And we were going to be the change to offer safety and bridge that gap between people wearing Chucks or an unsafe, not a specific motorcycle shoe, and get them into motorcycle gear. You can offer that safety, you can offer that comfort, and do it together. It just takes a lot of work to get to this point. So that's kind of where we got Roam from. Now we want to redefine all motorcycle gear. Obviously the jackets are higher. People think that, having a jacket is the best. But we also have done some really amazing things. We didn't use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. We built our own proprietary network. So we had to design our own computer chips, our own computer boards, our own computer firmware and software, bring the network up live, get it approved by the FCC and other regulatory things all over the world. But we did that because we wanted it just to work all the time. Bluetooth disconnects, as we see, Wi-Fi is already disconnecting and reconnecting. It really comes down to the number of devices on that network. So because we built our own network, the only devices right now on the Roam network are our own products. So you could have 1,000 bikers together at a rally, like at a stoplight or something, and you only have 1,000 devices on that network, which is quite little. But in doing so, the hardest device or the hardest gear to put a computer into was shoes for us. We thought there's the least amount of space for batteries, there's the least amount of space for computer chips, there's the least amount of space for everything in a shoe. So if we can do the shoe right, everything else is easier, And so we did it. We have these shoes, and they have computers in them. They're not just LEDs that light up with a battery. That the shoes maintain a wireless network with your motorcycle. So it's essentially a computer in each shoe, which is huge. And then also thinking about visibility, all of the parts of your body are kind of stationary on a motorcycle. Your hands are kind of, for the most part, on the handlebars. Your torso is, shifts a little bit. But your feet, you use your feet for your rear brake and your shifter knob. And a lot of times your feet are just kind of like resting on your foot pegs. So they're dynamic as opposed to static. When you want to turn your turn signal on, you want to go right, for example, you can turn your right turn signal on, stick your right foot out. Now you have a dynamic light that's moving. It's not static. And you'd be surprised if you're riding in traffic, when you turn your turn signal on, stick your foot out, how the sea of cars just kind of part. And that's not something you can get if you had, like your jacket and such. So, yeah, that's kind of why we started with shoes. And also at the point when we created this, there wasn't really any shorty boots, I guess. I'm not sure what everyone's calling them nowadays because there's so many different terms going around. But we publicly came out with what we were doing in 2016. And I think because of what we were doing alone, a lot of the other large motorcycle safety gear companies have adapted. And in a way, like, it doesn't make me mad. I'm happy that what we're doing has created a change and a shift in what is available.
That's
yeah.
a great attitude.
Like if what we're doing is going to change the gear that we're all wearing, that's awesome. And, Roam will grow and we're here to stay. We have intellectual property patents. So I wanted to answer a question or two that popped up about that.
Yeah. While you're reading those questions, Adam,
Yeah.
I just want to put in that yesterday in Kevin Williams' the Science of Being Seen presentation, movement is one of the most important things that we can do as motorcyclists to catch the attention. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because your feet don't just have to stay where they are. And if you want to change lanes, I stick my foot out, but I don't have lights in my boots yet, but I'm gonna after this presentation. So
Cool.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And you come to a stoplight and or a stop sign or stoplight. We hate sitting still at those stoplights when you don't have a car behind you. And now you have your 2 feet, you have the center tail light, which is your normal motorcycle light. And when you come to the stop, your foot comes off. And now you kind of have like this movement. So the car is behind you. It's also uneven. And in a way that's like amazing. It doesn't, you have more of a sense that there's something there because it's just like 1 foot on your rear brake and 1 foot on the ground.
You could even like switch your pegs if you wanted to while you were waiting.
So, you'd be surprised how many times I'll be at a stoplight or something, or a stop sign, and a car will come up next to me, roll down their window and ask, "Are your shoes connected to your motorcycle?" And you're like, "Yeah." And they're just like, "So cool," like, and it's interesting because you're at a stoplight and I'm having a conversation with a car who has taken the time out of his day to like roll down his window and have a conversation with me. Like, if that's not saying we're not being noticed, I don't know what is, because usually like cars and motorcycles we're kind of in our own bubbles in a way. But I mean, just the feedback from everybody in the car is just amazing. So it's just such a great experience.
It means you're being seen. And that's what it's all about. That's so cool.
Yeah. So there's 2 questions here. The first one is, you mentioned a patent. Is that helpful for starting a line? What's the difficult expense to file? Okay, so patents. This is not my first company. Patents basically prevent other people from entering the market in a way. A lot of times you create a service or a product, and once it becomes popular, a large company with a big budget comes in and basically takes the market from you. So it's smart to get a patent. Our patent is a utility patent. There's 2 different types. There's a design patent. For example, let's say we're designing this mug and it has this exact layout, but if somebody were to change the handle just a little bit or something, it wouldn't violate the design patent. Design patents are a lot easier to get and cheaper. Utility patents are the idea of a mug. So it doesn't matter if it has a handle or not or whatever, as long as it's a mug, you're violating the patent. So we did that because we knew we were going to spend a lot of money to build this, to get the network up and set up factories. And we have factories in 4 countries, almost 5 now. We're onboarding a 5th country now, but it's a huge investment. And we want to make sure that it was worth it for the business. We can maintain our place in the motorcycle space. And also, as you get popular, there's fake knockoffs of the shoes and stuff. And so we want to make sure we could prevent that as much as possible. In terms of the cost, it's a lot. I think a US patent alone costs us $25,000 in just in the beginning. And then once you get approved, which we've been approved, you can file for $5,700, another placeholder around the world. So nobody can file your patent against you, because a lot of people see your patent and then file your patent in another country because they've seen it and so this $5,700 prevents people from doing that. And then you have 12 months to really find law firms in all these countries and then translate your patent into that language and get it filed in that country, and they all have different timelines. But if I had to guess, we probably spent $250,000 maybe on patents and intellectual property all over the world. So it can get costly, but the patent lasts for 18 years.
But that's not even talking about defending your patent. That's just like getting it.
Filing fees, and I mean getting a few approved here and there, but like that's just filing costs, And then once your patent gets approved, and we've been approved in a lot of countries, they say like for example, United States, like, congratulations, we're approving your patent. You owe us $1,500 and we'll make it official. And if you don't pay us $1,500, well, bye. And so you're like, great, I've already given you $25K, here's $1,500 more. And then every country has its own timelines and challenges. So, it could be a full-time job, just that alone.
Adam, where do you get the money from investors? How did you go about that to have 250 grand to do the whole patent thing?
Yeah, good
Because I'm going to
question.
assume that you're not independently wealthy and willing to spend that much money without, someone kind of backing you up.
Right. So it's a great question. Yeah, I don't come from a wealthy family. I don't have that kind of money. We were self-funded for the first 10 months. During college, I was saving money to file my patents. And as soon as I graduated, I filed my patents like almost instantaneously, or began the process of that. So the patents were initially filed with my own investment that I had been saving. But after 10 months, I started to see like the money in the bank account go down to a point where it wasn't dangerously low, but it was somewhere where I said, you know what, this is a good time to go out and find funding before you get too low. Because if you get too low, people leverage you, they take over your company. So that whole process of finding and securing investors is challenging. And we were able to secure investors. So bringing on investors, you basically come to an investor, you're like, I have this great idea. You show them that it makes money. You show them there's a need, and hopefully, they invest and they get some equity in the company, and together you guys get to that next level. So yeah, we have investors.
Did you have to give up any of your company or any of your morals for your investors?
So obviously that's the trade-off. Like you give up a percentage of your ownership of the business essentially, and then they give you cash. So now they're owners. And in terms of the morals, no, that's part of the negotiation. And for people starting businesses and you're looking for funding, I'd say finding the right funding from the right person is very important. Initially, in the beginning, you're like, I just need money from somebody. Please, anyone give me money. But once you get past that point, or even before there, the best advice I can give you is taking money from the right people is important, because you could have an investor who's not in the motorcycle space, for example, who is trying to like micromanage or change things, or doesn't really understand the customer. It doesn't really understand, a lot of what's going on, and that can really affect the business. So we were able to bring on investment funding without jeopardizing the brand and the vision. But then, on the flip side, if there's a CEO that's too like tunnel vision, that's also bad, not taking advice. So it's like this balance between listening to, the investors or people, and using your due diligence and making the right decision. I mean, that's what a CEO does. So.
Well, I suppose in some ways, having to bring on a partner who does have a financial stake also encourages you or forces you to be creative in finding ways to make it profitable. Yes?
Well, I mean, the goal is to be profitable in general. If they have new ways of being profitable, or if they have suggestions, I mean, obviously this is not like a tyrant, whatever, like, we have conversations and together, the goal, the best thing you can do in business is align incentives. If the people that you work with and the people that work for you and the people that you work for, and everyone kind of has the incentives correctly, the path of the company kind of just moves in the right direction. So yeah, so yes, people, investors will come with business ideas, and some are good and some are bad. And
such awesome advice, Adam. And this has turned into a Adam, the business coach, which we're all just like enthralled listening to you, the things that you've done to make your company what it is. We're just like, ah.
Yeah. And I'm fascinated because I'm a solopreneur. And so and Brittany, you are as well. So it's fascinating. So I want to ask you, Brittany, do you have investors? How has your process of creating a company and bringing a product, which maybe it's just, Brittany Morrow to market, how has that looked?
So my only investor has been my own skin. I've got skin in the game, if you want to call it that.
Sweat equity.
None of my businesses that I've started have a lot of overhead, simply because it basically is, the first business that I started was a concept. It was a safety campaign that was all online. And actually, I applied for grants. So I won 3 grants from the National Agenda of Motorcycle Safety through the Motorcycle Industry Council. So writing the grant and getting approved for that was such a cool process. I'm blessed to have the innate ability to write very well. And so writing the grant wasn't really a problem for me. My biggest issue was applying for a 501c3 status. And because my Rock the Gear idea wasn't going to take in $25,000 or more per year, I actually got denied after spending thousands of dollars to apply for 501c3 status. I didn't bring in enough money for it to be considered non-taxable. So that was very frustrating at the very beginning. I knew that people were more willing to donate money, product, all of that if it was a 501c3 tax deductible status, but I didn't do enough research because, again, like you said, I'm a solopreneur, and I had like a normal job, and I was just kind of doing this in my spare time, trying to get it off the ground. So it really did just start out with the 3 safety grants. They were $5,000 each. So I got $15,000 from the Motorcycle Industry Council, and I paid a professional to build my website. I paid several industry big names to make videos to put on the website. I made a huge run of stickers and t-shirts, and then I hit a couple of events to launch the website and the concept. And we had over 3,000 people, what we call take the pledge, which means that they're going to pledge to rock the gear every time they ride, in the first 3 months of our website launching, which was really exciting to see. And then I did get a lot of interest from gear companies, very specifically. Icon Motorsports has just kind of been a huge supporter since the very beginning. I didn't even have to go after them. They approached me with my story going so viral, and then starting the safety campaign. They decided that they wanted to get on board with that because it seems like most large motorcycle corporations, they want to hide all of the bad stuff that happens. And it was really nice to align with a couple of companies that really believed with me in the beginning and said, we're not going to hide the story, we're going to push it. So Dealer News Magazine was another one, and Fulmer Helmets was another one. And those 3 companies, along with the United States Army, who gave me my first speaking gig in 2007, which Lee Parks mentioned earlier, which is how I met him. I feel like this is a lesson in momentum, is that the moment you take that first step, you're moving forward. And once you're moving forward, it takes more to stop you than it does to keep moving. And you can gain so much if you just start. Just take that first step. And people who believe in you will jump on board. And that's how much people believed in my message, was that I've been able to do it for the last 14 years without ever being in the red. I don't have a lot of overhead, but that's always a good thing, is to know that the message has gotten out and it's perpetuated itself without me having to take a hit on my personal finances, my professional life. Everything has moved forward based off of that initial momentum. So a couple of key players at the beginning, but then everyone has been so helpful over the last 14 years. It's really exciting to be a part of this community.
Yeah, it's cool. Being a service-based company, which I am, I also have had very low overhead investment. I don't run a fleet of motorcycles, so I don't have 12 motorcycles that I'm constantly wrenching on and buying parts for and stuff like that. I partner with people who have them, or we use rental agencies. So I've been able to pursue my dreams, writing and riding and leading tours in a low cost way. The events are a little different because when you organize an event, there's a lot of stuff that you have to prepay for. And part of my struggle, with postponing my centennial ride to 2021 is I had a 6-figure hotel contract that I was laboring under. So, and I'm only bringing that up because there's so many ways to bring a product or a service to the market. And I'm hoping that it'll just illustrate different ways of doing it. There are ways to do all of the things that we did, at sometimes low cost, sometimes, as Adam said, with investors. And I have to admit that I'm a little jealous of having you're having investors and collaborators. That's why I asked that question, because as a solopreneur, I don't have anybody to run my ideas off. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Now that social media has come up, you can poll your audience and do those things. And then partnering with Brittany has been so beneficial because, I can double check myself. But how does that process work for you, Adam, and your team?
Sorry, I hear someone knocking. The process of bringing on funding or like bouncing ideas back and forth, yeah. So initially, our first investors, we wanted silent investors because we just needed money and we didn't really want very much input because I had this vision. Looking back on it, bringing on funding where the person has knowledge and experience in your industry together, you guys. So future investment, we have people now that I can ask for help. They can ask for help, and together we can move forward. And it's like, that's so beneficial. It's so beneficial. So bringing on the right funding. I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly. You said,
there's no correct way. I just wanted to illustrate for the folks who are listening, all the different ways of starting a company. And if anyone has any questions for the entrepreneurs panel, if you've been thinking about bringing a product to market or have something that you want to do, or let us know.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have
Madam
a question.
Morrow. Madam Morrow, please.
Adam, is Rome interested in partnering with any large manufacturers to get lights in their products as opposed to making your own? More of like a, us versus them, or a partnership sort of thing?
Absolutely. So if one of the large gear manufacturers approaches us and wants to license the technology, our team will work with them to help them implement our technology into their gear, because at the end of the day, it's to keep riders more visible. And if more and more brands want to get on board and make riders more visible, we're all for it, So to answer your question, yes, like if someone wants to license the technology, or they can reach out to me, and yeah.
Cool. That's good news. We like this.
It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to say one other thing, because we were talking about investors a second ago. Bringing on investors comes with a whole nother set of challenges. It's not just money. I mean, you now have to give quarterly reports. So you're stuck doing things that when you're a solo entrepreneur or solopreneur, aren't necessary. And so, there's more effort. There's another job, another hat you have to wear in order to keep that moving forward. It's just something to acknowledge.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Elisa, when I was answering my question, I didn't go into the Rev Talk side of things, but I guess we're both in the position right now where this is a partnership. We started Rev Talks 50-50, and so did I have an investor? No, but Elisa has graciously paid for most of the expenses up front. So you have invested in this. And so regardless of whether you're considered a partner or not, you're an investor as well. And I want to say thank you for that.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
all the love for everybody.
Thanks.
We should have
Yeah,
gotten Genevieve Schmidt on here for this.
yeah, she would have been a great one. Speaking of Genevieve, who founded Women Writers Now, I did see a couple questions from Sarah Schilke, who's on the Women Writers Now leadership board. She's one of the co-leaders. Adam, WRN is interested in doing a review of your product. I think hopefully you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, great.
It got answered before I got to respond on.
Okay, great. And she also asked, what's the MSRP on
Right.
your?
So what I'm doing right now, well, okay. MSRP, so the vehicle box for your motorcycle, which is reusable, is $150. And a pair of shoes is $149. So as a set, it's $299.
That's it?
That's it, $299 for the vehicle box and a pair of shoes with D30 electronic. Yeah. But what I want to do, and it's only, if it's okay with Brittany, I'm sure it will be, is offer a discount to everybody on here. A 10% discount. Is that something I can do?
That's fantastic.
All right. So that's gonna
Throw it out there.
I'm buying them right now.
So it'll be Rev Talks 10 would be the code.
Okay, great.
And it'll be a 10% discount through this month.
Can you type that into the chat when you have a moment so we can all see both the website and the discount code?
Sure.
So that everyone can just kind of copy paste maybe and go buy all the shoes. And I want the first free pair, Adam.
Discount code.
Yeah.
He's just like, ah.
Yours have to have unicorns on them.
I know. I want pink lights. I want pink lights and,
That brings up
glitter. Oh. Yeah. So how much would it cost? Here's another question then. How much would it cost to make a custom pair? Have you ever considered letting people build their own shoe around a platform of the computer and the lights?
So I will say to those that want to get into a business, shoes might not be the best place. There is a lot of fixed costs. There's a lot of overhead. I mean, I said 250,000 in patents. I mean, we probably spent close to 800,000 if you had to talk about like molds and factories and all that stuff. So in order to do custom shoes, it just gets really, really expensive. I know Nike's doing it with their Nike Labs, but they're at this level where they have just a different capacity and different setup. There are people who customize shoes after they receive them, and then they paint them and they do things to them. That's an option. But we fully intend to have different colors, or in the shoe community, we call them colorways. Different colorways, different styles, and of that nature. So
awesome.
And then you mentioned pink lights and things like that. A lot of times we get questions on, like my bike is blue, can I have blue lights and things like that. We really wanted to make sure we were on the right side of the law here. And in doing so, there are laws, a lot of laws that say you can't have blue or red facing forward. It's reserved for law enforcement, or different colors depending on the area. And so we chose the DOT colors for the turn signals and the brake lights. And we've also used discrete LEDs, which means they can't change color on purpose. And that way, if you're using these, you're not violating any laws. That's key. It was
pretty smart.
I wouldn't have even thought of that. See?
Yeah.
In
Look
the
at
future,
this guy. He's just so smart.
Yeah.
In the future, we may have shoes that you could change colors as long as we do it correctly. But right now, it's just the correct yellow and the correct red and facing in the right directions.
So for the benefit of the folks who are listening, I wanted to ask you, Adam, if you've heard of the Motorcycle Industry Council's gas tank program.
I have not.
Okay. I'd like to take a couple minutes and talk about it because I was in the first round of gas tank participants for building better women's motorcycle tours. My women's motorcycle tours really started as a hobby for me. I just wanted to get paid to ride, and it's only been since my 2016 event that I got serious about it. That also coincided with my 50th birthday, and there's something about turning that number. There's something about that number that makes you a little more serious, I think. The gas tank program is sponsored by the Motorcycle Industry Council, and what they do is it's loosely based on the Shark Tank program. There's a call for applications, and then then you proceed to apply, and you get paired with a mentor inside the motorcycle industry.
Oh, cool.
And this can be extremely beneficial because, as we've talked about, the connections, the community that you that you have around you, it gives you access to resources that maybe you can't access on your own. My mentor was Scott Harden, and he had run the tours program for KTM. He runs Harden Off-Road. So I had access to an industry giant as my mentor, and I got to meet with him every week. And otherwise, I wouldn't have ever even met him. I would have not ever benefited from his experience. So he helped me develop a business plan, which really opened my eyes about a business, because as a writer and as a sometime tour leader, I hadn't really thought about the business side of it and really like, what does it really take for you to make money, which is crazy in some ways, because, but a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you don't think through that. You just think, okay, well, I'm going to do this, and this is going to be fun, and I'm going to make money. But the actual, the actual mechanics of how do I make a business work, and how do I make a balance sheet work with all the expenditures and all that. So, anyway, so he helped me with that process. And then the truly beautiful part was that I was, as a finalist, so you submit your business plan, and if you're chosen, then you get to go to the AIM Expo motorcycle show for dealers. And that was really brilliant, because I got to get up, and the other 5 gas tank applicants that year, we all got to get up in front of the press and make a presentation to the motorcycle industry press, and we got to have booths at AIM Expo. So talk about jumpstart exposure, and this is open to anyone, men or women, and entrepreneurs, and I just think it's a marvelous program. And to find out more, you would look up on the Motorcycle Industry Council website, or you can email me, folks, and I'll tell you who to talk to about that program.
Here we go. Screen sharing. Awesome. You know, that brings up a really, really great point. It's something I wanted to just quickly say is, yeah, I definitely need to look into this, and this is a conversation we should definitely have after. But I was asked to speak at, give a presentation at the San Diego Startup Week in San Diego for an event. And one of the things I said that was most valuable to starting a business is surrounding yourself with the right people. That's it. Like, if you're trying to start a business and you're surrounding yourself with friends who party, that's great. But those friends that party are not going to help you with your business. If you really want to start a business, I say the 5 people you surround yourself with most, so affect your life so much that if you're going to start a business, surround yourself with people, those 5 people that are going to help you get to that next level, you know? And things like this, this website and community you mentioned is helping you get around those right people. Also, if you want to be never want to be the smartest person in the room.
Absolutely.
If you're the smartest person in the room, you're just talking about your experiences. But if you can be the dumbest person in the room, everyone's smarter than you, you have a lot to learn. So surround yourself with people that are helping you, or basically not even helping you, are knowledgeable in the areas you need help with. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the smartest person in the room or the most experienced person in the room, it's always about trying to up-level yourself and figure out where you can go next based on what other people have done already. And it doesn't have to be limited to where they've gone. You could go as far as you want, but finding that guidance on how to get there, the methods that they use, it's invaluable, because these are not the things that we're born knowing. And you know, of course, some of the philosophers would say that it's already inside of us, the knowledge is already there. But I think the idea really is there's always something more to learn, and there's always somebody with an experience that can help you, regardless of, you know, intelligence level. The experience is such an amazing thing to learn from and share. And if you're not sharing your experience with others, you might be hindering them from reaching their next level too. So it does go both ways. And so on that note, thank you, Adam, for sharing your story with us, because some of the things that you've achieved are just amazing and fantastic. And little did I know, when we became friends and when I lived in San Diego in 2012, we were riding around on Taco Tuesday together. I was surrounding myself with this amazing person without even realizing it. And it's funny because he would always tell us, I'm doing something really big, but I can't talk about it. And we were all like, whatever, dude, whatever. And then he came out with this product, and we were all blown away and so excited. And I'm so happy to see where it's gone. So thank you for sharing your story,
Thank
Adam.
you. And at the end of the day, we're all riders, right? You can catch me at motorcycle events. I ride regularly. We all do, I think. And that's what really brings us together. It's not, we're all equals. So, and I'm so impressed with all of us, you know, and not me, but like the collective power of the three of us and everyone in the motorcycle industry. It's like, you know, another thing is be a good person. Don't be a bad person. Karma is real. Karma is real. There's so many people that'll try to make a quick buck here or screw someone over, and it does not end well. So
I think that's where Rev Talks really comes into play for me, is that the clickbait thing has become an issue. The clickbait thing has become a huge issue for me when it comes to YouTube videos and people just trying to make money on saying that they're going to teach you how to do something and then they don't, or saying that they have really great advice and they don't. And the only way I know that is because I've been doing this for 14 years and I've had these experiences and I've done this training, and I'm like, that's not great advice. And it you know, it's frustrating because I feel like our community deserves to have fantastic knowledge and access to education and someone to inspire them to go out and get the in-person training that you really do need as a motorcyclist. Because you can do this all day long, but until you put your hands on your motorcycle and start that engine and start riding, you can't learn everything. So I want to inspire people to start their education at home and then inspire them to go out and take the classes and learn from the real professionals. And I feel like I have a responsibility to counteract the clickbaity YouTube stuff. So I don't know if that's how you feel, Elisa, on like the base level, but that's really where Rev Talks is born in my heart. Besides the fact that we were all stuck at home and this was a great idea. So
yeah, great idea, woman. Great idea.
There, the clickbait stuff. I just want to say one thing. There was early on in Rome, there was someone in the motorcycle community who was a moto vlogger and uploaded a video to YouTube like Rome Zeros, another failed Kickstarter or something, and that was the clickbait image. And I was so focused on making this a reality that I was like, who is this person? And I'm not gonna watch this video because it's just messed up. And it took me a year. I literally waited a year before I watched the video, and it was a positive video. But the thumbnail was to get people to click, and that stuff is real. It's very important when learning information, Brittany, as you mentioned, to cite your sources. It's something you learn in college. It's like when you're talking about where you're getting information, it's like, where are you getting it from?
Yeah.
I mean, we came from this society where computers were being built and everyone in the beginning said, oh, don't trust everything you read on the internet. Don't meet people from the internet. And now like you'll see a website that's like a blog, like blog post, Blogspot or whatever. And somebody with no credentials is writing information in.
Yep.
It's really important to get your information from correct sources.
Yeah,
So.
we spoke about that, the journalists on our journalist panel yesterday, where that was a topic that came up. It's like, how do you know what good information is, and how do you vet that information? How do you know what to believe? And so yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and one of the reasons I wanted to launch this, as well as the reasons that Brittany's already mentioned, is that, we have access. We do have access to those people who are the real deal, who are the experts, who are in the trenches of the motorcycle industry. And we've been privileged enough to rub elbows with them, but I know neither of us has lost sight of the fact that it really is a privilege to be in this industry and to know the people that we know and have the access to them that we have. We wanted to share that. And launching the Rev Talks with the Rev Conference has been so gratifying because everybody just said yes. Nobody said no to us. Everybody just said yes. Yeah, we're in. We'd love to support this. And that's really the power of community. And that brings me full circle to having been a solopreneur. This is such a great way for me to connect with people. I don't have to wait until we go on a tour, or I build a big event. Like, this is a different way for people to connect. And if it wasn't for current circumstances, like, I don't think that this would have been born. So I think gratitude is actually a really great trait in an entrepreneur too, is to really recognize the help that you get, be gracious about the help that people do provide for you. And what's your feeling on that, Adam or Brittany? Do you agree?
Oh, that's right. It's perfect. Yeah.
It's it's the whole idea of you don't know where you are going until you know where you've been. And I think we talked about it at the last conference that Elisa did with Women's Motorcycle Tour. She did the Women's Motorcycle Conference, but the lesson was that love and fear, or love and hate, can't live in the same space. So gratitude is love in action. So as long as you're being gracious and you're grateful for what you have, fear can't take over. And that's what keeps us from doing what we want to do. It's what keeps us from doing the things that we dream of. It's what keeps us from moving forward. And so I think gratitude's like the one thing you have to have. And if you don't, then you're never gonna, you might get somewhere, but you're never gonna get where you should be able to. And that really the sky's the limit on that. Thank you for bringing that up. John Del Vecchio, he just wrote something in the comments, and I just want to say, thank you for that.
I just read that too.
I know, right? I'm like, oh. He said, Rev Talk seems so professional. I'd have thought this was in the works much longer than the virus mess. To be honest with you, John, this is 5 weeks into us deciding that we wanted to do this. I think that speaks on the level of experience that we have, regardless of whether I've ever done an online conference before. We have a whole panel of professionals here, but we have an entire conference full of professionals. Yeah. Like Elisa said, they all said yes when we asked them if they would do this. So for those of you in the audience or watching, if you are a professional in any aspect, please fill out an application to give a Rev Talk, because the idea here is that we are going to cover all aspects, all genres, all types of riding, all types of motorcycles. We had a passenger class earlier today. Like that's almost unheard of in, I know that there are some classes out there, but it's not a normal thing. And the idea is that passengers deserve some training. Riders should probably get training on how to carry a passenger. And we said, you know what, we want to have this. We think that this is an important thing to put out there. So please fill out an application. We pay our presenters. We also allow you to give discounts on your products. Like Adam is going to, give a 10% discount. So thank you for supporting our attendees that way.
Already live.
Yeah. Go to our website and click on, in the main menu, it says Become a Rev Pro. Just click on it and figure out which application you want to fill out. We would love to have you, because we want to do a new Rev Talk every week, once a week for the entire year. And we're going to take, some vacation days here and there. So 45 weeks over the next year, we're going to do a Rev Talk, 45 of them, plus a monthly Rev match for single riders. and
That was so
open
much fun.
pricing. I know we had so much fun last night with our first Rev match ever. And that's something that's going to have to grow over time. But yeah, so shameless plug for Rev Talks. Please fill out the application form and give a formal professional presentation. And if you don't know how to do that, guess what? We'll mentor you on how to do it.
I saw another note from John about that we mentioned AIM Expo and that it was moved to January. And yes, John, you're correct. It was moved to January, and it's no longer the 2 days of industry and 2 days of public. It's gone to industry only. And I think there's many reasons for that, and I think it was a smart move on their part. Sorry to all the consumers who really enjoyed that show. It is a great show. But the International Motorcycle Show series is still on, and those will be coming to 7, 8, 9, 10 cities, whatever they have on their schedule for this year. They haven't announced dates yet, but that'll be a way for you to connect with the companies and the brands and stuff like that.
I just put into the comments for all of you who are watching and looking at the chat, the link to go to the gas tank competition. It is at the mic.org, and that will be for anyone who, doesn't matter if you've been trying to do your own moto entrepreneur thing for years and years and years. You can already have an established business and you just want to level it up. So again, surround yourself with people who have more experience and who might be a little bit smarter than you right now, because you can get to that level. So go to that gas tank competition and put in your application. I think that there were some deadlines that I'm not sure if they moved them back because of COVID, but check it out. And if not this year, then next year, get your ducks in a row and we'll see you there.
I wanted, since we have a few more minutes, if anybody has any questions, please throw them in the Q&A. We'd love to answer these while we're here for you. And also, I just want to acknowledge something about motorcycle riding that you may know, but you might not. It's very important to be present. So often we get in our heads, we're thinking out scenarios, we're thinking for the future, we're planning, we're doing all this stuff, but really like where the decisions are made is like now in the present. And one thing that motorcycles do is brings you back to the present. I know some people that don't ride maybe meditate or yoga or things like that, but getting on your bike and going for a ride, like you're focused on just staying alive. And that that headspace is so valuable. I know that's probably obvious, but I just wanted to just acknowledge that. And I'm looking forward to some Q&As. So somebody.
Well, we actually have 1 minute left.
Oh,
yes.
So,
sorry, the time is.
So I'm just gonna thank you, Adam, so much for being with us today and showing off your amazing product. Thank you for the discount code. Super happy for that. We're glad to, to be rubbing elbows with you here virtually. And I just love all the technology that is popping out in our industry. I mean, it's the best time ever to be a motorcyclist. I know I say this all the time, but the technology just keeps getting better and better. The advancements, the safety aspects of the bikes, the apparel, the helmet technology. And speaking of helmet technology, there is a new technology, the quintessential Quinn technology, that has been put into a helmet. And you participants really don't want to miss the next presentation, because it's all about this crazy safety technology that is coming out and has been put into helmets. And I hear there's possibilities for a great many other products that this technology is going to go into. So stay tuned. Come back and join us in 10 minutes with Tim Calhoun of Quinn Design. And I hope you'll be as excited as I am about this technology, because it's crazy. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Bye now.